In 2008, Citizens United produced a film called Hillary the Movie. The documentary was clearly intended as a feature-length attack on the presidential aspirations of Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton. The Federal Election Commission, saying the film's broadcast would violate federal election law, shut down the pay-per-view broadcasts of the film on cable services.
On January 21st, 2010, the Supreme Court ruled that it was unconstitutional for the Federal Elections Commission to ban the Hillary Clinton movie created by Citizens United from being aired on public broadcast. The close 5-4 victory overturned century-old laws that prevented corporations such as Citizens United from advertising messages about candidates within a certain number of days of an election. In the majority opinion, Justice Anthony Kennedy said that the previous laws interfered with the speech of millions of corporations. In his dissent, Justice Stevens said that the problem is corporations can drown out the voices of ordinary people.
Suddenly, we have the ability of corporations and unions to go run advertising on television right up to the day of an election, calling for candidates to either be for voters to vote against or vote for candidates.
The Supreme Court's ruling was remarkable for the number of laws it overturned.
In 1905, the Tillman Act was passed, which prohibited corporate contributions to candidates. In the late 1940s, the Tillman Act was extended to unions and was also extended to prohibit corporation and labor union expenditures. Then in 1974, the post-Watergate amendments were passed, and these amendments imposed contribution limits, expenditure limits, and prohibitions on any communications that were for the purpose of influencing an election.
Basically what the court said is that corporations have First Amendment rights, at least the majority in this case said.
It was all the way back to Teddy Roosevelt and Progressive Era that corporations, because it was thought they're not real persons, they're using shareholder money, should not be allowed to just put in whatever kinds of funds in campaigns. And the question is whether that restriction is a violation of the First Amendment, because the court has now established the proposition that giving money is speech.
Those in favor argued that not to include corporations would be a violation of the First Amendment, which guarantees free speech. Those against claimed it'd be devastating for American democracy, with a flood of corporate-sponsored TV ads with big business way outspending individuals.
Corporations can use their vast treasuries to spend money to support or oppose candidates in political campaigns. This is a complete change in the law.
And we continue to follow the breaking news from the Supreme Court, a ruling that appears to open the floodgates for corporations and labor unions to use money from their general treasuries to pay for advertising campaigns.
Supreme Court ruling that may change politics in this country more dramatically than anything else this court has done in generations.
Here the court is trying to discover the limits on government. The surprising answer they got was that there are no limits on government.
I actually think that the Citizens United case is one of the best examples of a genuine strategy that I've seen in the years I've been in Washington. And it's really one of the most sophisticated, methodical, and serious strategies I've seen in my years in looking at government.
The issue is Citizens United, the Supreme Court decision that has Democrats panicked. The court held that the First Amendment does allow corporations to spend their own money on advocacy messages during election cycles.
Corporations are free to inject unregulated billions, absolutely unlimited money, into the political system now. If you are a regular person who's ever made a campaign donation before, forget about ever having to do that again.
Last week, the Supreme Court reversed a century of law that I believe will open the floodgates for special interests, including foreign corporations, to spend without limit in our elections.
This ruling rolls back decades of protections against corporate interference and control of governance.
Will open floodgates of millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in federal, state, and local elections as Halliburton and Enron and Blackwater and Bank of America and Goldman Sachs can take money directly out of corporate treasuries and put them into our politics.
In the 2010 election cycle, The impact of the Citizens United vs. FEC case was evident, as businesses were able to fund unlimited independent electioneering communications. Including money from candidates and third parties, an estimated $4.2 billion were spent on campaign television ads alone in the final week leading up to the elections.
I looked at just one corporation, ExxonMobil, which is the biggest corporation in America. In 2008, they posted profits of $85 billion. And so if they decided to spend, say, a modest 10% of their profits in 1 year, $8.5 billion, that would be 3 times more than the Obama campaign, the McCain campaign, and every candidate for House and Senate in the country spent in 2008. That's one corporation. So think about the Fortune 500.
On a national level, the Citizens United ruling had an immediate impact on the federal elections. But this ruling has also had an impact on state politics. One example of the impact the Citizens United case has had on state politics is in Minnesota's 2010 gubernatorial race. Target, a Minnesotan-based company, donated $150,000 to a political action committee for the purpose of running ads in support of Republican gubernatorial candidate Tom Emmer. Considering Tom Emmer's open opposition to gay rights and gay marriage in one of the most gay-friendly states, many Minnesotan Target customers were shocked and outraged at the company's donation.
Just because the Supreme Court in a 5-4 ruling said they had the right to do this doesn't mean as a corporation that they should be doing it.
Target has had such a wonderful record when it comes to gay and lesbian rights in the past. And that's what shocked so many of us, particularly my family.
Corporations do not belong in our political process. They're buying it off. Ordinary people like us cannot afford to be a part of the democracy anymore.
I just believe it's not just the gay issue, which is a big one, but it's the whole idea of corporate giving money. They can give money that it makes the little bit of money that I can give meaningless.
News of Target's donation spread, and in addition to protests, over 60,000 people nationwide pledged to boycott Target.
This is Target, an organization that has very strong national brand name. It's, one of the best known companies in the country, but especially in Minnesota where it's based. It's spooking organizations to maybe back off and not necessarily donate to Minnesota Forward.
Target's donation represents just one instance of corporations' newly extended power to participate with free, independent spending in elections as a result of the Supreme Court's ruling in Citizens United. But as consumers showed in their boycotting of Target, they still have the power over corporations and how they spend their money.
Citizens, consumers, shareholders across the country should start a mass movement to demand that corporations commit not to get involved in politics and not to spend their money in that way, but should be involved in the economy and, economic production and livelihood rather than trying to determine what happens in our elections.
Over a year later, the debate continues as to what role our corporations have in our elections and government. Whether you believe corporations are entitled to individual rights, such as the ability to invest in campaign advertisements, or whether you believe this ruling gives corporations too much power in elections, it's undeniable that the ruling of Citizens United vs. Federal Elections Commission has forever changed the way campaigns will be financed and the future of corporation participation in political campaigns.